My name is Corey Fehribach. I'm the manager of operational excellence for earth moving parts here at Yancey Brothers. When you think of earth moving parts, think about it all things supply chain parts, spare parts logistics, or aftermarket parts as it relates to the Yancey dealership and the Caterpillar product. So we sell a machine, we have spare parts, we have warehouses across the state. We distribute those parts to end users, to end customers, as well as to our shops, right? So to our own service shops that we have across the state. So my role in all this is exactly as it sounds. It's the operational excellence, it's the strategy, it's the growth, it's the improvement, process improvement, oftentimes known as Lean or Six Sigma or Kaizen. You've probably heard some of those terms before. So do a bunch of those projects, right, to streamline our processes, to become more efficient, to get rid of the outliers that happen, the one-off cases, right? My goal each and every day is to make sure that the one-offs of we didn't communicate, or I didn't know that was going to happen, or I wasn't aware that this is what was causing the delay, right? My job is to eliminate those and create a much more fluid operation. In conjunction with that, we are trying to grow like many companies, right? And so I really focus on the strategy that we're putting in place. So each of these operational components that we're improving, are we thinking about pushing volume through that? Meaning, if as we grow, is what we're doing going to sustain that growth? Is the strategy there to sustain growth? So in a nutshell, it's supply chain logistics of aftermarket spare parts. But more specifically, it's Caterpillar. When you think about this business and you think about the heavy equipment industry, you're talking about people that a lot of times are DIY customers, right? Do-it-yourself customers. The guy that's needing to order the parts is also the guy that's operating the machine, right? He's the guy that's doing the work himself. He owns the company, he's doing the work. So constant email is not the best way to communicate with those folks, right? It's through phone calls and through text messages. A lot of the customers expected us to call them when something arrived. Well, the reality of it is, to my point from earlier, that an average phone call takes 2 minutes longer than a text message. Well, calling every customer when 12,000 orders arrive is not an option, right? So you think about the days of like AT&T, right, or Coca-Cola or Chick-fil-A, any of them, right? Any customer service-based business, you call and you're talking to somebody anywhere, right? You're not even sure, right, if they're even in the United States, right? In this business, we've flirted with the idea of doing that. And it was such a resounding no from our customer base. They wanted to talk to that specific person that they built this relationship with. It's such a relationship-based business that we knew that, we couldn't do certain things. And so we needed a platform that would allow us to continue to build relationships on a more personalized basis, right? So the biggest thing that we focused on, and that the goal with Prokeep, to solve, which it has in a lot of ways, and to continue to solve as long as we have the agreement in place, is focused around call volume, right? So we take a lot of calls, inbound calls, for multiple things, right? One is to place orders, right? So to provide some kind of parts technical assistance, meaning I'm looking at my machine, this widget has broken, can you order me a new one? So, really providing that technical expertise. But then we take a lot of phone calls that are looking for updates, right? Hey, what's the latest estimated ship date of my part? What is the update on its shipment status, whether it be via UPS or FedEx? So a lot of that stuff can be done through email, but as you can imagine, a lot of our customers are in the field working, right? So it's not always convenient to just be right there with your email, right? Or to click all these links. And so our goal was to start leveling out some of those peaks of call volume, right? And push some of that communication through a text-based platform. Phone calls on average take 2 to 3 minutes longer than responding to a text message, right? By the time you answer the phone, get through the pleasantries of the hellos, how you doing, they take a while. And so that's really, really inefficient when it comes to, hey, we're just trying to give an update to this guy, or he's just asking about this customer is just asking for a shipping update or ESD update, not really needing technical assistance. And so we're wasting a lot of time there and losing, our ability to pick up the phone in a 2 minute span, right? So we don't want anybody holding longer than 2 minutes before they have our assistance, right? And so trying to balance those two out, because like anything, it's a peak, right? We have peaks of very intense call volume, right? So 7 a.m. might peak, and then between 8:30 and 10 or 11, it's really leveled out, really null. But then again, around lunchtime, you'll peak again because the folks who are ordering the parts are actually no longer running the machine. They're at lunch and they're like, oh, now's a great time for me to order my parts or get updates on my parts or get updates on this. And so we really needed to figure out how to bring those peaks down and control them. And texting was a very, very good option. So that was the initial thought for how the Prokeep platform was going to enter the business. What we found is through the ability of sending pictures, right, and the communication that way, we can actually really support the technical expertise side that we offer through the texting platform as well, right? So, hey, Mr. Customer, I know you are needing this widget, but I need you to send me a picture of where you're looking in the engine for me to see this, right? And before, that would be an email process. Now we were talking about being able to do that through a texting platform, right? So the customer can just snap a picture and text it, and us begin to analyze and provide that technical expertise via text message service, right? So it's actually evolved into something much bigger than we originally planned. That's why I say it's solved the issue, but it's almost created a whole nother realm of opportunity and training that we can provide. So now it's starting to take those peaks and level them even more, right? So, prior to Prokeep, we were communicating with customers on non-stock orders about 10% of the time or so. Since we've implemented Prokeep, we've seen that increase to roughly 65 to 70% of the time we're communicating on non-stock orders once they either A, arrive to us, or B, as they are leaving us to go to the end customer. And we intend for that to be 100% in the real near future. So we're really pushing customers now if they know what they need, right? So they're not needing technical assistance, meaning, I'm not sure what hose I'm looking at, or I'm not sure which O-ring or gasket has failed. I'm needing that assistance. If they're not needing that, if they're just needing the order filter, they know their part number, we're really pushing for that to just be, hey, just shoot us a text message to this. We'll respond to that text message with your order confirmation number and really move on with the day, right? Much quicker, much simpler process, much easier communication that way. We're really headed down that angle. Like I said, the initial rollout was really focused around updates, right? Providing those updates to customers that they need. But the ordering is starting to cycle in. We've actually recently put into our phone system, we're implementing the idea of telling customers, hey, did you know you can text us at, and so it's kind of putting a spotlight on exactly that option that they have. So not only can you come into one of our storefronts and talk to us face to face, not only can you call us and talk to us on the phone, but you have the ability, should time not permit a phone call or you to come to the store, you can also text or communicate via text with the same folks you would talk on the phone to, right? So, back to that example of I need to send you this picture, right? I need your help to decipher what I'm looking at. Being that email was such a painful way of doing that, right? Because there's such a lag in the email process. We oftentimes found that our folks were communicating with these customers via their personal cell phones which a lot of times opens up a lot of exposure for things that you don't always want, right? Meaning, uh, the customers will call you on the weekend because they now have your cell phone number, right? Or after business hours because they now had your cell phone number and they can reach you personally. And so that opens up a lot of dissatisfaction from the from your employees, where they're having to respond to customers. They feel inclined to respond to a customer because it's a customer reaching out to them. But it doesn't fall within business hours. And so that was a huge pain point for our employees that this solved. So definitely removed some of the personal cell phone use and moved it to more of a company-based communication. The second good thing about that, right, is that it put the control of seeing the communication and making sure that our folks are operating at a high standard, right? The standard that we set. We could now see that, whereas personal cell phones is out of sight, right? There's nothing I can do to make sure that the communication is happening in the most professional, in the way that we expect it to happen, and in the way that the Yancey brothers and I think even our employees, the way they expect to communicate, right? We can now make sure that that's happening and respond accordingly. The buy-in from the executive team was immediate, right? So the moment they saw the return on investment that could be here, right, in terms of communication, everything, as I'm sure you're aware in business, is, hey, what's my ROI? What's my return on this? The return was immediate, right? So it was, hey, you could see value tomorrow the moment you did this. Just one text message to updating one customer in a very supply chain constrained environment, right, does a wonder of good, right? So I once had a customer tell me that no news is bad news. Some news is news. And so that really resonated with me, because I was like, okay, how can I turn a complete expense, right? Because when you're talking about a communication platform, you're talking about an expense. How can I turn an expense into a return, right? How can I show a net return? Because I don't think there was any way to really say that if I didn't have a texting platform, this customer wouldn't have ordered this filter. But I could say that if I didn't have a texting platform to update this customer on this filter, the chance of him being a repeat customer might go away, right? So I need to provide a good customer experience up front with good, clear communications. Yes, absolutely. I think Prokeep's ease of implementation, right? So when you think of putting in some kind of form of technology, no matter what you're trying to do, the first thing you think about is the pain of implementation, right? Technology is great once it's there and once all the bugs are worked out, but the pain of implementing something is always the greatest fear. So I said it is the greatest fear. The second greatest fear is cost, right? It being cost effective. And so when you put those two things together, a lot of people steer shy of doing or making a leap into this kind of space. Prokeep was easy on both of those fronts. One, it was very easy to implement. The team was there throughout the process. I think total implementation was less than a weekend, right? I think we started it on a Friday afternoon. By Monday, everything was in place. A few minor little fixes that we made within the following week, and then you're go live, right? I mean, it's there, it's ready to implement. The second thing was, and I mentioned it earlier, very, very cost effective. So both of those things were in place. So yes, I would absolutely recommend Prokeep to other distributors as a way to communicate and to continue to communicate, because not only am I part of a distributor base, I'm also part of a consumer base who wants to be communicated with, right? So it's definitely something that is needed. It is well received by customers. So I would definitely agree that it's something that I would recommend to many distributors who might not have this technology already.